All right, we're going to spend a little bit and talk about density altitude now because it does tend to get a little confusing. We normally think about the air getting thinner as we go up into the air. And so, um, as we do that, the air molecules spread out. Um, and part of that is the atmospheric pressure of what's left of the atmosphere above us becomes less and less. So down near the surface, we get a lot of pressure because of the amount of air molecules that are above it pressing down on it. It packs it in nice and tightly. It's kind of like when you're in a swimming pool. You can feel the pressure of the air, or the water rather, above you as you go deeper and deeper. Your ears start to get pushed in by the pressure, and you can feel that on your ears um, because there's more and more water above you pressing down and inward on your body. So you're going to get that feeling of pressure in your ears. So the same is for air pressure. The only difference is that when we're out in air pressure, um, air is 800 times less dense than water. So you're not really going to feel that pressure necessarily on your ears. We're kind of designed to live at standard air pressure on the ground anyway. So, but as you go higher and higher up, you're going to have less and less air above you pressing down, and so the pressure will basically decrease, and therefore the air molecules are allowed to spread out. Almost the same as when we're talking about temperature. So the air is more spread out at altitude. So atmospheric pressure determines what the air feels like at the surface. Density altitude is the feels like altitude assigned as the equivalent to the height at a particular altitude above sea level. So if it feels like you're up on the top of a mountain, then the air density would be lower, right? If it feels like you're at a lower altitude, then you would have more air molecules. So at a higher density altitude, you have less air molecules. At a lower density altitude, you're going to have more air molecules. What this means to your UAS is that whether you're flying fixed wing or rotary aircraft, more air molecules is better. So at a lower density altitude, you're going to have much better flight characteristics. So your aircraft is going to have more air to work with. At a higher density altitude, you're not going to have as much air molecules, and therefore your performance values are going to be much less. And of course, the higher you go, or the higher the density altitude, the more pronounced this will be. So you're looking for a nice low density altitude for a better flying day. And again, it's that feels like, and you've heard the feels like with weather before when they talk about feels like temperatures, but in this case, it's the feels like density of the air. And what's tricky is we think of density as being more all the time. If you have a high density, you think of it being a lot more dense, but and of course low density being less dense. But in this case, we're talking about altitude. So when they start talking about density, altitude, when they mix density and altitude, the higher altitude has less density, and the lower altitude has more density. I know we beat that up pretty good. I hope that you got it. It's also in your book. So as you read through, check more on density altitude if you didn't understand this fully. So that is density altitude.